General Hospital spoilers reveal that what strikes me most right now is how Brick has stepped forward in a way that feels both surprising and deeply satisfying. For so long, we've watched him as the loyal right-hand man to Sonny, quietly handling the kind of behind-the-scenes work that keeps everything running in the shadows. But in these recent episodes, his quiet affection for Jordan has blossomed into something far more visible and, dare I say, heroic. I remember thinking, as I watched him show up with those flowers on that May 1st episode, how tender it was to see a man like Brick, tough as nails in every other part of his life, soften completely when he looked at her. Jordan, bless her heart, was carrying the weight of those facial injuries and the fear that the scars might never fully fade, and yet Brick's presence seemed to lift some of that burden right off her shoulders. It reminded me of the old days when certain men on the show would show up just when a woman needed steady reassurance, not grand gestures. I've always admired Jordan's strength. She's rebuilt her life more times than I can count, and seeing her smile again because of Brick's kindness felt like a small victory amid all the chaos. Of course, that smile doesn't erase the bigger question hanging over everything. Who was really behind the wheel that night? I've been asking myself the same thing you probably have. Why does it feel as though the police are moving so slowly, while Brick seems ready to cut through the red tape with nothing more than his determination and a few well-placed phone calls? It's not that I don't trust the authorities on the show. We've seen them do fine work over the decades. But there's something refreshing about watching Brick approach the investigation with the same efficiency he's always brought to Sonny's requests. He knows how to find answers, and because his feelings for Jordan run so deep, even after accepting that she's chosen Curtis, he's willing to put those skills to work without any lingering romantic agenda. That selflessness speaks volumes to me. In my view, it elevates Brick from a supporting player into someone truly indispensable, and I find myself rooting for him to succeed not just because justice matters, but because it would mean something personal for Jordan's peace of mind. And then came the discovery that has me replaying scenes in my head. Brick, through his usual meticulous ways, finally uncovers the truth about the vehicle that struck Jordan and fled the scene. It turns out the car in question, the one Brook, Lynn and Tracy have been desperately trying to keep hidden, bears the marks of that very collision. I have to admit, this revelation hit me with a mixture of shock and reluctant understanding. Brook Lynn has always been one of those characters who walks a fine line between ambition and impulsiveness. We've watched her navigate family pressures and personal mistakes before, but this feels heavier. Tracy, ever the protective Quartermain matriarch, stepped in immediately to cover things up by having the car repaired, believing she could erase the evidence and shield her granddaughter from consequences. It's the kind of calculated move we've come to expect from Tracy over the years. She's fierce when it comes to family loyalty, and I can almost hear her reasoning it out in that sharp, no-nonsense tone she's perfected. Yet as someone who has followed these characters through countless moral gray areas, I can't help but feel a pang of disappointment mixed with empathy. Hiding the truth rarely stays hidden forever in Port Charles, and I wondered as I watched whether this cover-up would ultimately do more harm than good to the very people they were trying to protect. What makes this arc so compelling is the way it forces Brick into an impossible position. Once he connects the dots and realizes the damaged car belongs to Brook Lynn, he finds himself ready to confront both her and Tracy directly. I felt the tension build as I imagined him weighing his options. Loyalty to Sonny, who has always counted on him, against the need to bring real answers to Jordan and Curtis. It's a classic General Hospital dilemma. Personal relationships colliding with the pursuit of justice, and the writers handle it with such nuance that I found myself pausing to consider what I would do in his shoes. Brick's readiness to attack as it were, isn't born of anger, but of a quiet resolve to set things right. He's not out for revenge. He simply can't stand by while Jordan continues to carry the emotional and physical scars of that night. In my long experience with the show, moments like this are when secondary characters truly shine, revealing depths we might not have suspected. I've seen Brick evolve from a reliable fixer into someone capable of genuine moral courage, and I applaud the storytelling for allowing that growth without sacrificing his core traits. But just when I thought the revelation would lead straight to a dramatic showdown, the writers delivered one of those masterful twists that keep us glued to our screens week after week. Tracy, in a move that surprised even me, and I've seen her pull off plenty of bold maneuvers, steps forward to take the blame entirely upon herself. She's willing to shoulder the full weight of the accident, protecting Brook Lynn from the fallout and proving once again how far a grandmother will go for her family. This development lands like a fresh shock, layering new complexity onto an already tangled web. On one hand, I admire Tracy's sacrifice. It speaks to the enduring theme of maternal and grandmaternal love that has defined so many storylines across the decades. On the other, I can't ignore the potential consequences. Will Curtis accept this version of events? How will Jordan feel when she learns the truth, especially after Brick has worked so hard to uncover it? And what about Sonny? Will he stand by Brick if the confrontation threatens Quartermain interests? These are the questions I turn over in my mind during the commercial breaks, the same way I did back when we wondered whether Laura would ever escape the Cassadines or if Sonny would finally find lasting peace. What I appreciate most about this particular stretch of episodes is how it balances high-stakes drama with quieter, character-driven moments. Jordan's vulnerability after the accident, Brick's gentle support, Curtis's unwavering determination to find the driver. These elements remind me why I've stayed loyal to the show for so long. It's never just about the big reveals. It's about watching people we've known for years navigate pain, forgiveness, and the messy reality of human choices. I've found myself reflecting on how different this feels from some of the more over-the-top plots of the past. There's a grounded quality here that resonates, especially for those of us who understand the weight of real-life regrets and second chances. Brick's discovery doesn't just solve a mystery. It forces everyone involved to examine their own loyalties and what they're willing to risk for the people they care about. Of course, no General Hospital storyline exists in isolation, and I can already sense how this one might ripple outward. Will Isaiah be cleared once Brick's evidence surfaces? Might Danny and Charlotte's nearby accident that same night open up yet another layer of possibility, suggesting perhaps the real driver was someone entirely different? These lingering questions keep the narrative alive and prevent it from feeling neatly wrapped up too soon. In my opinion, that's smart writing, giving us resolution while leaving room for the kind of emotional aftershocks that make the next chapters worth anticipating. I've disagreed with certain creative choices over the years, like when characters seem to act out of character for the sake of shock value, but here the decisions feel earned. Brick's role, in particular, feels like a natural extension of who he's always been. Capable, discreet, and now, unexpectedly, a source of comfort and clarity for Jordan. As I sit here thinking about all of this, I'm reminded of why General Hospital remains such a comforting constant in our lives. It mirrors the complexities of family, friendship, and community in ways that feel both larger than life and intimately familiar. We've watched children grow into adults, old feuds simmer and reignite, and love stories bloom and fade, and through it all we've found pieces of ourselves reflected back. This current chapter with Brick, Jordan, Curtis, Brook Lynn, and Tracy is no exception. It challenges us to consider what true justice looks like when it collides with love and protection. It asks whether covering up a mistake can ever truly protect someone, or if honesty, however painful, ultimately heals more. And through Brick's steady presence, it offers a reminder that sometimes the most unexpected allies are the ones who help us see the truth most clearly. I'm eager to see where the writers take us next, and I suspect many of you feel the same. Will Tracy's sacrifice hold, or will the full truth emerge in ways that reshape relationships across Port Charles? Whatever happens, I know we'll be here week after week, sharing the journey the way we always have. Because at its heart, General Hospital isn't just a soap opera to us longtime viewers. It's a shared experience, a place where we can still find comfort, surprise, and the occasional tear or smile. Thank you for letting me ramble on like this, my friends. It feels good to talk about these characters as if they're part of our extended circle, because in many ways, after all these years, they truly are. Until next time, take care and keep watching. There's always more story waiting just around the corner in Port Charles.